All right, guys, here we are, episode 10. We are back at it one more time. You just can't get rid of us. I don't know if we're the herpes of sports podcasting or what's going on here, but we are back to do it again. Guys, how's your week been? What do you want to talk about today?
Good man. Episode 10. That's more than Star Wars, and Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings, Indiana Jones. Soon it'll be more than all those combined. So watch out.
That's right.
It's been a good week, and instead of herpes, I'd like to think we were a rare Ferrari or something, but that's okay. No, it's
Maybe
been
one day.
maybe one day. It's been a good week. Looking forward to this upcoming week at a golf tournament next Friday or this coming Friday. So hopefully that'll be fun. Maybe I get some film clips while we're out on the course, throw them in. Something of that nature, playing a real nice golf course
Yeah, that'd be
up
cool.
here in North Georgia.
I think our golf fans would like to see it. Kind of been a cool week here for White Widow Sports. We released the interview with Jasmine after a lot of teasing and all. Appreciate anybody that's checked that out. If you haven't, it is live. Go and look at it. It was a lot of fun, really cool discussion. I watched it back myself this week, and it actually turned out even better than I thought it would when we did the interview live. So really cool video. We're hoping to get some more guests like that in the very near future. A lot going on in the works. And of course, the domination this week has been the March Madness tournaments going on. Men's and women's got off to a big start. Wanted to give you guys a quick update. Some of you have already known all of this information because you signed up and joined our bracket challenge, so we're keeping up with that group. But I'm also, in addition to the official standings amongst the whole group, also just kind of following how the three of us are doing. So right now, after the first round, Chris and I are tied for third within our main group, but also kind of in a head-to-head battle, whereas Brian is tied for sixth in our group of 9. Don't have as many people playing the women's, but really cool to see. I am actually still 100% on the women's bracket challenge, so obviously I'm in first place. Brian is tied for third in that one, and Chris is all the way in fifth, possibly even last if you don't count his wife Mary, who did not submit her pick. So, Chris, you got to do better, man. You were talking all that smack about how easy it was to predict the women's, and here you are in fifth place. You got to get that number pumped up.
Yeah, I'd still be in last had Mary hit the submit button because I'm sure she did a little better. I didn't know I picked that many upsets, and it looks like you picked 0 upsets, -1, and then got that one right. And
That's right.
that's what happened. There's been one upset. And it
When,
was
when
only
you
a 7-10, I think.
when you get it, you get it. Okay, I'm 100% over here. I don't even want to talk about the men's bracket until this women's one falls. But like I said, just wanted to give you guys a quick update. Those following along, we're having a lot of fun. I have officially watched more college basketball this week than I have the rest of my life combined. So I am exactly like I predicted. I'm more plugged into it than I thought I would be. I'm actually enjoying it, and I could definitely see this being a yearly thing for me moving forward. My father-in-law joined our bracket challenge. He and I have been talking a lot this week, talking about different games, complaining about games happening while we're trying to get work done at our day jobs because White Widow Sports does not pay our bills yet.
Yeah,
Uh, but having a lot of fun. Hope you guys are too.
yeah.
Yeah, and congrats to my son Tyler. He's in first place. Um, I don't think he's 100% on his bracket anymore, but he stayed 100% for a long time. He's doing
I
really
think
well.
he had Clemson. Clemson kind of kept everybody from being
Uh,
100%.
I don't know what
Sure.
I'm talking about.
He's still about 99.3 percentile amongst all 24 million brackets that were. So he is absolutely crushing it.
He's
Very
ranked
proud of
about
him to see that.
100,000 in the country or in the world.
And
Well,
he would have been higher if he didn't pick Liberty to beat Oregon. I don't know what he was thinking with that
That
one,
was
but
that was pretty bad. That was a
you
30
gotta
point game, I think.
you gotta call your shot sometimes.
Sometimes.
and I'm gonna tell you in the bracket challenge or the bracket setup video, I told everybody UCLA was my least favorite team. Well, it's now Clemson. They jacked me up, so I will forever be hating on Clemson. Probably not, but we'll go with it for now.
Until somebody else loses.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So I've
Let's
got a topic, I guess we'll start with. It's very near and dear to both of y'all's hearts. It is UGA and arrest go together like peanut butter and jelly. Uh, Brian, what's going on with your team over there?
I don't know, man. It's just some of these kids, I guess they don't realize the opportunity that they have. And it's not just Georgia. You see it down in Miami. You see it at almost every big school. Uh, I really believe, I mean, it's been happening for years, but seems like more so here recently. These kids come out of not the best areas. They are outstanding athletes, obviously, to get to the point that they've gotten to. But you got the money coming into it, so they get a little bit of fame, they get a little bit of money, and they just do stupid stuff. At the end of the day, they're still kids. I did a bunch of dumb stuff when I was his age, so it didn't make national headlines because guess what? I wasn't a national kind of star or celebrity or playing for a national school. So I hate it for him. I hate it for the team. And it goes for all teams when they lose a star or a potential star for them being a dumb kid. Now, with that being said, do I think you need to pay the consequences? Absolutely. Just because he's a star at University of Georgia don't mean you can take other people's lives at stake. You can't take your own. You did something dumb. You do the crime, you pay with time. So, I'm good for Georgia for kicking him off the team indefinitely. For the coach over there, I'm sure, they had a nice conversation in that coach's office. Probably not a lot of fun, but again, I hate it. And, it's just dumb mistake.
Yeah, it sounds like they had their fun behind the wheel, so they exercised their fun allowance. They don't get any more once they get behind those closed doors. Chris, I'm sure you have some information on this, or at least some thoughts
Yeah,
for those who may not be as familiar with it.
last I checked, he's not kicked off. He's suspended. He was a highly recruited guy for Georgia. I think this makes about 44 traffic arrests in the last 5 years for Georgia, so that's pretty fine. Now, the guy's name, for some that don't know, is Nitro Tuggle. He was essentially speeding around town and wrecked. But I think with a name like Nitro Tuggle, you got to let him go, man. You got to give him some slack here. He was pretty much born that way. Just like Ricky Bobby, his first words were, I want to go fast. So,
Now, it sounds
yeah,
like maybe you're only aware of the Tuggle incident where he was arrested for speeding and reckless driving, but
yeah.
that was Thursday. I believe it was Monday night. Another UGA player, Marcus Easley, crashed his car into an apartment complex. Both players have been suspended indefinitely by the program. So this is 2 in a week, literally a year after somebody in the Georgia program was killed for racing. I mean, at some point, you think something's got to change. I don't know if this is a direct indictment on the NIL or something just wrong with the culture. I'm not sure what's going on, but they need to figure something out because you've had a staff member get into some issues. You've had I think it was just a prospect that was visiting the team that got killed in that Jalen Carter race. I don't know that he was actually on the team. I don't
He was
remember
on the
exactly.
team, and the girl also died, and she was, or wait, she might have not died, but might have been fired. I'm not sure. Apologies to her. I think
No,
she might have actually died.
I believe she passed away
Yeah.
in that wreck
Yeah. Okay.
because I think she was like, I don't want to say chaperone, but
She's like a administrative assistant for the football
yeah,
team in some capacity. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
obviously, it's a sad situation when something like that happens. You don't want to see it happen again. I don't know what they can change to put an end to this, but they need to be figuring something out because eh, and obviously, I'm not a Georgia fan, so it's easy for me to throw shade at them. It just seems like UJ is a hotbed for this sort of thing. As Chris mentioned, there's been a very lofty number of arrests and citations and all kinds of issues going this. It's like, can we get these kids just like a bus system or something? Don't let any of them drive anymore. This is getting ridiculous.
I don't know that I would call it a hotbed because I've seen it again at other schools. Miami a few years back had big time issues with players getting into trouble, getting suspended, getting whatever disciplinary action they got. So I don't think it's just a Georgia thing, and I don't think it's just a football thing. It's just Georgia's going to get a lot of notoriety right now. They're
Under
pretty
a
much at the
microscope.
top of their game. They're always right there in the hunt for a national championship. They're always going to be talked about. So not to take away and say it's not a big deal. It's a huge deal. And yes, they do need to get some kind of control over it 100%. But like I said, I think it's going to get more media attention because it is Georgia, no different than, a couple of years ago, it had it happened at Alabama. And actually, I do think a couple of Alabama players got in trouble, if I remember correctly. And the same thing, it becomes big national news because of who the team is, not necessarily who the player or what they did. So,
Well, the reason why I call it a hotbed, it's not just out of pure hate or anything like that. It is statistically factual. They track this sort of thing. I'm not sure why, but people have more time than I do, apparently. And you look at all programs, whether it be D1, FBS, whatever it may be, if you go back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, go back to the Mark Richt days, no matter what time range you set, the consistently top school in trouble with the law is Georgia. And so I said, it's just, now you might could say, oh, if I go back 50 years, I get Ohio State instead or something. I don't know about that, but I've seen it consistently over at least maybe since 2008 or so, 2006 maybe. It has been Georgia players getting in trouble, and I'm not sure why that is, but I'd like to see it stop. Obviously, that's our home state. We don't want that poor reflection around here, but that's all I really had to say about that. I think it was worth noting. Again, these are kids. These are kids they have access to money that they've probably never seen before. You don't want to, kill them over it, but at the same time, you don't want them to kill anybody else either. So worth mentioning. Guys, make better decisions. We can move on to something else though.
Yeah.
Moving on to some more sad news, and this really is because I kind of grew up in this era a little bit, not necessarily when he had his big fights, but I mean he had some big fights that I remember. Is George Foreman? A lot of people know him for the grill. I know him as the boxer because, like I said, I did see some of his fights. He had very heavy hands. Some people say that he had the heaviest hands in all of boxing. He had 76 wins, and 60 of them came way of knockout. That's all. That
Wow.
tells you, he's hitting hard. Only 5 losses, one of them being to Muhammad Ali. The GOAT of boxing. People would say he was amazing in his own right, but very, very sad news. I don't believe the cause of death is put out there yet, and it doesn't matter. The world lost a champion, great man, great individual. Obviously he liked being a father. He had, I don't know how many kids, 12 or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And fun fact, all of his sons are named George as well. So I'm not sure how they kept track of that at Christmas time, but again, sad news coming out of the world of boxing and the world of sports in general.
Yeah, sad
Anyone
stuff.
want to add to that?
Yeah, sad stuff. I got to see a few of his clips. Didn't really, see his fights. A little too young. Great guy. Condolences. But your grill sucked. Your grill was one of the worst kitchen appliances in the world. You would put some meat in there and then absolutely squeeze the life out of it. All the juices out of it would drain out. You'd be left with a piece of dry meat that you just didn't want to eat. But, you made a lot of money selling it and even more money being a world champion. So life success achieved.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you could say is that he was able to afford those 12 kids. There's a lot of people out there who can't afford one or two. And, if you want to have 12 kids, if you can support them all and give them the kind of life they deserve, hey,
Yes.
go for it. Seems like he liked doing 3 things. One of them was fighting, one of them was grilling, and we won't say the other one on this podcast, but the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, Chris, what else? What did you have for us?
I got a little NBA playoff picture, just kind of laying it out as it stands today. Well, as of last night. Playoffs start the 19th. We got the Thunder leading the West and have already punched their ticket. They're followed by the Rockets, Nuggets, Lakers, Grizzlies, and Warriors. Currently projected to be in the play-in games in order are the Clippers at 7, Timberwolves, Kings, and Suns. A few of those could change in the upcoming weeks. Over in the East, of course, we have the Cavs, followed by the Celtics, Knicks, Pacers, Bucks, and Pistons. Now, what's funny is all those teams have already clinched the postseason, as opposed to the West, where only the Rockets or only the Thunder have done so, which I guess tells you more how much more competitive the West actually is. For the play-in games on the East, we have the Hawks, Magic, Bulls, Heat. All those teams are actually below 500, but hey, man, my team is one of them, so the haters can shut up.
We're all hoping the Hawks get in there and do something. Don't know
Well,
what that something is, but you got to pull for your teams no matter what.
sure.
Even if that's selecting them to win your March Madness bracket. I'm glad you brought up the NBA because it's hard to forget that. I guess it's hard to remember that pro basketball is still going on sometimes with so much of the spotlight being on college basketball right now. I remember scrolling through yesterday trying to find a certain game, and I
Mhm.
saw Milwaukee Bucks playing, and I'm like, I didn't even know. No, yeah, I'm just not paying any attention to NBA right now. I got to keep up with my brackets as if watching the game will somehow make the result go my way. Who knows?
Yeah, it's normal.
And I think you've also been following some college wrestling. What's going on there?
Oh man, so I had to check this morning because they had some semifinals last night.
Mhm.
Um, those started on the 20th. Penn State has the team lead at 135 and a half points. They're a good bit ahead of Nebraska and Oklahoma State. Penn State's the reigning national champions 3 years straight and looking for a four-peat, and they're 13th overall. That's pretty cool. They'd still be way behind, historically trailing Iowa's 24 and Oklahoma State's 34. Now, that brings me to a point. I like NCAA wrestling. I've been to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs for a conference championship when I was working with a wrestling team, a college wrestling team. Um, the only downside of that is I had to share a van with them all the way back to the school, and they didn't get a chance to shower. But
Ooh,
here's my problem. You see those top two teams there, Oklahoma State and Iowa, hogging all the championships. It's a bit of shame the SEC, the Sun Belt, conferences like that don't have wrestling going on because a lot of the times you say interest and money are the problems. So I'd like to use hockey and lacrosse here as an example. Lacrosse does exist across the South, but it's limited to like private schools and stuff, and then they usually go up north to compete on the college level. Hockey, they stay up north because it's cold and they have their ice skating rinks and they just like it more. That's an interest thing. So we had a money thing and an interest thing. Well, wrestling, the interest is there in the South. I can speak to that. I'm in the South. People like wrestling, maybe pro wrestling more, but that's a global thing. Um, I think the interest is there, and then all you need is a little headgear, a singlet, and some mats. Every high school has that. Nearly every high school across the South, in case people don't know and watching outside the South. So I think the interest is there, and I think you would recruit at a high level. A lot of these Southern guys like to stay home. You'll see that in football. You'll see that in a number of sports. I just chose Ole Miss because my grandmommy can come watch me play or whatever. So you would build up quality programs. And I think you need to go ahead and implement those. I'm not sure what's holding you back.
What do you think? Maybe it's a coaching thing. Do you think because wrestling, yes, you talk about team championships and all, but wrestling is very much an individualized sport. It is very
Mhm.
much me versus the guy across from me, single elimination tournaments and stuff like that. It's very much a how can I be better than the other guy that is trying to pin me while I'm trying to pin him? Do you see that go more towards I'm going to flock to the best coach, the one that can get me to be the best version of myself? I mean, I talked about Jasmine, she talks about the connection that she has with her coaches, moving to different cities just to stay with that one coach. is it that like a Penn State or an Iowa just has a far and away better coach that people will come all over the country to work with? I mean, that's
I
the
think
only
in
thing I could really think of.
I think in the short term that could be true. I think in the long term you'll see it. Um, I think you'll see it spread out because there's got to be. Let's use Cody Rhodes as an example here. Cody Rhodes was a state champion in my state around the time I was in high school. Um, if you don't know who Cody Rhodes is, I can't help you at this point. So I'm not going to explain that. But Cody Rhodes, he does not go on to do college wrestling. But say you got a guy like that, state champion, and Georgia does have a really good wrestling state, high school wrestling history. A few of those guys are going to stay home. They're going to go to a southern program. Not saying it's Georgia, but saying it's somewhere in the area. A few of those guys are going to stay home. All it's going to take is a few of those guys staying home, and you're going to be competing on the national stage because all you need is one or two individual national champions to get enough team points to get you in the top 10 or so at the nationals. So I think given a little bit of time, you would not see them flock because what are we talking? Oklahoma State? Come on. Guys are not going to flock from like Atlanta to Oklahoma State for the coach forever. Maybe in the beginning where he's got that prestige, but I think you're going to eventually see it shift. You just need to go ahead and put yourself out there.
Yeah. And go ahead, Brian.
I am surprised that it hasn't shifted. I know around my area, wrestling is actually pretty big in the high schools. And Brad grew up in this area, and I believe it was big back then. A lot of the football players, that's what they did. They weren't the basketball players. They, a lot of your wide receivers and things of that nature did go play basketball, but a lot of your linemen, running backs, quarterbacks, I've seen them all go and do. That was their secondary sport was high school wrestling. So I'm really surprised that it's not bigger at a collegiate level down here, as it is in like Iowa and, Illinois, I believe has a good program. There's several that Midwest states that do a lot in wrestling. It's big name there. So I don't know. Maybe it's coming. I don't know. I'm not in that world, so I don't really know. And neither one of my kids participated in it. So there may be some attributes that I am unaware of that keep it away from the South or just on a bigger stage than what it really is.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, obviously, you can tell by my shirt, I went to Rome High, and we were known for having probably the best conditioned wrestling team in the state. That was something that our coach was known for. Was he said, you might not be the most technical, you might not be the strongest, but you definitely will not get the most tired. They were built to last. And Chris and I, if you know anything about us or have picked up on some of our clues, we've had a vendetta against kickers for a while now. And I'll give a quick shout out to Connor Young. He graduated in my class 2009 from Rome High. He was the kicker on our football team, but he was not the kind of guy that you would make fun of because he was also a state championship wrestler. And I just remember seeing him in the weight room. We had our certain weight, workouts that we had to perform each day. And in between those workouts, Connor was doing other workouts that I had never seen before, different lifts, different toning exercises. I mean, he was fully bought in. He was working out before and after the rest of us were. And it was just a testament to his kind of stamina and cardio and all that stuff. I mean, the dude just never got tired. He could kick field goals all day if we didn't score so many touchdowns.
Yeah, and I really should give a shout out to my old high school because not only Rome High maybe had some good conditioning. Ringgold was arguably the best in the state of Georgia in the early 2000s. I think they won 5 state championships from 2000 to 2007, something like that. They had about 10 to 12 individual state champions, just dominant. And of course, those guys had nowhere to go. I think one of them decided to go UT Chattanooga, which is a small school but has a better wrestling program than say Georgia, because Georgia just doesn't have one. Georgia Southern doesn't have one outside the club level. So Chattanooga is benefiting a lot from this SoCon wrestling I believe, unless Chattanooga has to jump outside of the SoCon. And in that case, this problem's even deeper than I thought it was.
Yeah, and you go back to that string of success at Ringgold. You know,
Mhm.
how many of those championships were won because they were competing against other championship caliber wrestlers
Yeah,
day in and day out? It's like, man, if I can beat this guy in practice,
yeah,
what does this other kid from another school, what chance does he stand against me?
right.
And I think that also feeds back to your point of some of these schools like Oklahoma State, Iowa, Penn State hogging all of that spotlight. Well, it only takes a couple. I mean, then you have a Fab Five type situation where more and more guys are rolling in because they're like, hey, if I'm going against 184 pounder Carter Staroki, who's
Mhm.
25-0 this year, has a chance to he just won his semifinal against a guy from Oklahoma State who's 21-5. You think 21-5, that's a pretty good wrestler. He beat him by decision 9-3. If he wins his final, he will be the first ever 5-time national champion. He is
Ooh.
literally making everybody else in that program better because
Mhm.
that's who they're all competing against. He is setting a bar that no other program can match. And that's why people are going from, you know, Huntsville, Alabama to Penn
Mhm.
State because they get to wrestle against Carter every day. And then that guy across from him at this championship match on Saturday just doesn't seem quite as scary, not quite as formidable. So maybe we answered our own question in that roundabout way.
It's amazing.
Brian, did you have something else for us, or should I go ahead and jump into the NFL?
Well, I'm gonna kind of jump. I'll touch on the NFL because mine's really quick. I know you've got a little bit more. I just wanted to bring up really quick the draft is a month away. I know Brad looks forward to the draft every year. I look forward to it as well. Chris, same. It's one of the highlights of our year, and this year could be really special. I want to tease it a little bit. We had talked about potentially going live and it being the first live version of this podcast. So would really like interaction with that podcast. We'll have chat up that we can answer
Mhm.
questions or really get our reactions to the picks, good, bad, or indifferent. Um, Hopefully there won't be too much colorful language in that video, but it is what it is. Um, that's about all I got, and that is it's going to be on the 24th. If you don't know, April 24th through the 26th. The live episode we're going to do it the first round, I believe, only. So that live episode will be on the 24th.
Thursday night, if you're unfamiliar, prime time.
Join us. Stay up
Yeah,
late.
yeah, it'd be your first
Take
real.
around what 11:30.
Yeah, depends on how long some of these teams take to turn in their cards, but usually, I mean, I've seen it go till 12:30 first round, but it's your first opportunity to interact with us live, ask us questions, whether it be about the
Unscripted.
podcast, something about the draft itself, where we want certain players to go, predictions. I mean, it's one of those real time opportunities to make it what you want it to be. We're looking forward to it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's already my favorite event of the year. I'm already brainstorming ways on how to get the right setup for being able to not only watch the draft, but also participate in that stream. So, very much looking forward to it. We've got about a month until that happens. So, please join us if you're listening to this now. If you like the draft and want to do something a little different this year, join us here on White Widow Sports. We'd appreciate that. I think it'd be a good time. But there's still a lot that can change between now and the draft. And kind of the topic that I wanted to discuss. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers was a big topic on last week's podcast, and he is still the hostage situation is still ongoing. It's kind of like a quarterback carousel. There's a lot of dominoes that are waiting to fall, and it's not only free agents, it's trades, it's the draft, it's a lot that can happen. And Rodgers seems to be the linchpin in all of this because teams are willing to wait on him. Well, he just visited the Steelers facility for 6 hours and left without a contract. Nobody has said whether that's because they offered him a contract and he didn't give them an answer or if they even extended him one. At this point, I don't think you host somebody for that long and expect them to leave. Obviously, they want him. They're waiting for him to sign. And you're starting to see signs of other teams getting tired of this. Jameis Winston signed a 2-year contract to join the New York Giants. I believe it's a $8 million contract. but a total max value of $16 million with incentives. The Browns have come out and said that there's mutual interest between Carson Wentz and the organization, possibly coming in and being a stopgap kind of guy for them. Russell Wilson's obviously still a free agent. And I think a lot of people are thinking that Wilson is waiting to see where Rodgers goes only because he doesn't have a choice. Whatever team, there's a couple teams that are in on Aaron Rodgers, and whatever team he doesn't go to, Russell Wilson becomes that consolation prize. And then there's one other name that I know Chris is paying close attention to, and that's Kirk Cousins. Atlanta has come out and said that they're not going to make their decision before the draft, but if somebody finds themselves still in need of a quarterback or they're not real happy with their quarterback situation, he could possibly be made available right around draft time, maybe during, right before, right after. We'll see. My prediction as it currently stands, and I'll see if you guys have any thoughts differing from this, is I think Aaron Rodgers does eventually sign with the Steelers. I think he just enjoys the attention too much to make it easy for anybody. I think in the follow-up move to that, Russell Wilson's going to go to Cleveland. Then you'll see Cam Ward go to first overall to the Tennessee Titans, kind of fill that need. Shedeur Sanders will then go to the Giants, third overall. And Kirk Cousins will remain in ATL. No deal gets done. He will be backing up Michael Penix Jr. And I think the reason for this is I think by signing Jameis Winston, the Giants have kind of closed the door on Russell Wilson coming in. And so that has forced Cleveland's hand a little bit. So a lot of people don't know what Cleveland's going to do at pick 2 in the draft. We assume Cam Ward's going first overall. If the Giants say, hey, we're good with Jameis Winston starting this year, and then that forces Russell Wilson to now go to Cleveland as the next best opportunity, Cleveland's not going to then turn around and draft Sanders at 2, so it would allow him to fall to them at 3. I think the Giants have kind of masterminded the situation and navigated the minefield as best as possible. Chris, what do you think? Where does everybody end up, or do you have any thoughts on the subject in general?
I can't really disagree with any of those thoughts. The only one I'd be hesitant on was Russell Wilson with the Browns. I could see that going a few different ways. Everything else seems likely, as you said it. 6-hour deal or 6-hour meeting, and then you don't come away with anything. I think he has his deal. He's just giving it one last thought, as you probably should at this age. Make sure, because it's probably going to be your last thought. Make sure it's what you really, really want to do. The money's there, everything. I think it's probably the best he's going to get. He knows it. They know it. I expect to see it done pretty soon.
Yeah, the Vikings have also closed the door on Aaron Rodgers. They have fully endorsed JJ McCarthy. So you're starting to see some of these doors close for Russell Wilson, and I think process of elimination will lead him to Cleveland. That's kind of my reason for saying that. Obviously, Minnesota isn't going to pay Russell Wilson what he wants, even on a 1-year contract, when they're invested in JJ McCarthy. You don't think the Giants are going to pay money for both Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So by signing Jameis Winston, I think they took themselves out of the running for it. So, I mean, just who's left? I don't think that Russell Wilson is a better option for Tennessee, who has the number 1 overall pick, than Cam Ward is. They seem like they want to go and get their guy. So I don't know where else Russell Wilson could go.
Yeah, I don't see anything different. Other than I'd really love to see the door slam in Aaron Rodgers' face, just because he is a attention seeker, and he has been the majority of his career.
I think the word you're looking for is dill hole.
Well,
The technical term.
I was going to be nice. Yeah, I don't foresee it happening any different than that. I don't see a deal. I don't think any deal is going to get done until after the draft. Honestly, it may come, but it more than likely not. I would love, like I said, I think he ought to retire. Take your stats, put them on the back of the horse, ride off into the sunset, be done with it. If he can get a contract and it's decent money, take it. I don't know what you're sitting on. You're old. Take what you can get out. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I am no fan of Aaron Rodgers, so again, I hope it slams in his face, and that's what you get for sitting on your hands. So I don't put too much stock in the 6 hour meeting or whatever. It just that's going to happen. Honestly, I would slam the door in his face, pick up Cousins, because you're going to get him for a lot cheaper price than you will an Aaron Rodgers. And I believe Cousins could give you a couple of years where Aaron Rodgers, you're lucky if you get, half the football season. So that's just my opinion. Again, I'm no NFL pro scouting person, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, as it currently stands, I believe Mason Rudolph is the only quarterback on Pittsburgh roster. So obviously they're going to have to do something. I don't know if Jackson Dart is going to be available for their pick. I think they pick in the early 20s. There's a lot of talk that Dart could go earlier than what a lot of people would have originally predicted. Quarterbacks do tend to rise in this process, and Dart's having a really good pre-draft process. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. But like I said, I think Aaron Rodgers is the linchpin. He is the first domino to fall, and then we'll see the other moves kind of cascade thereafter. But I do think it's worth monitoring week by week. We'll give updates as they come out. Social media has been growing lately. It's cool to see a lot of the interactions that we're having on Facebook. TikTok is obviously doing well. We've been enjoying making content for those platforms. So we're just going to kind of keep going in that direction, and we'll keep everybody updated as best we can. Obviously, we're not Sports Center. We're not breaking news, but people that follow us and like the updates as they seem to be doing, we don't want to take that away from you guys.
Yeah. So the NHL is thinking about doing something different with their All-Star Showcase for next season. Despite the overwhelming success of the Four Nations Face-Off, I don't get that. I didn't look too far into this, but my guess is that they're trying to be more inclusive because some countries didn't get a chance to be in that. It was going to be several more nations, but they had not enough players or war conflicts and stuff. So we'll see what that is eventually. Also, we got the NHL possibly expanding to Houston, and that's got a lot of legs to stand on because apparently, quote, they've had a number of meetings about Houston being a part of the expansion. That comes straight from ESPN and a source on the inside there. So they've already got 32 teams. I guess they want to shoot for 34. And a video I watched says that that would net them around $1.5 billion in expansion fees. So if it's not for expanding to new markets, which you'd like to say it is, it's for making $1.5 billion on expansion fees. So whatever you want to do there, NHL, it'll be fun to see if that gains any traction in the next few months. So.
Well, Brian spent a good bit of time in Houston. I think he might even be able to contest to this. Obviously, you've got to keep it pretty cold in a hockey arena during a game, right? I think a lot of people in Houston will go to a hockey game just to escape the heat. They've got pretty good air conditioning.
Hey, we just saw Miami win the Stanley Cup, I believe. So
I'm sure their attendance numbers reflect pretty well as also. So.
And I can't let a podcast go by without mentioning our boy Cam Skattebo. I have seen a lot of chatter. Chris, we had talked about it a couple of episodes ago about the potential of him going to Dallas, and that actually is looking like more and more serious. I don't know where he's drafted at. I think late first round, and I'm not exactly sure when Dallas has their pick, but a lot of people are saying that might be his home.
I think it's 9th. I'm not sure.
Dallas drafts 12th, and a lot of
12th, okay.
kind of the big talk all in the early offseason was that Dallas was the landing spot for Ashton Genty, who's the top running back in this class.
Yeah,
but everything has kind of changed since the Geno Smith trade to Las Vegas. And now you're saying, oh, they've got a veteran quarterback. They've got Brock Bowers. They've got, they're kind of building that offense up a little bit. Obviously, with the kind of football Pete Carroll likes to run, Chip Kelly and his offense just utilized 2 running backs to great success at Ohio State this past year. He's now the offensive coordinator in Las Vegas. Are they going to use that 6th pick on Ashton Genty? So then at that point, with Dallas and all of their needs at 12, do they then take the next best running back in an Omarion Hampton? Or do they take an offensive lineman or fill another need on the defensive side? And then, I mean, there's been talk of receiver, even get somebody like a true running mate to CD Lamb. But do they then go running back in the second or third round, which is where a Cam Skattebo now becomes an option? Just saying, would I rather have a first round offensive lineman and a second round running back, or then use another first round running back who might not even be who we wanted originally, uh, but then have to rely on a second or third round offensive lineman? I mean, it just kind of piecing up those values together. It does make it seem a little bit more likely that if Genty is not there at pick 12, that maybe Dallas doesn't take a running back and instead addresses it in a second or third round. And Cam Skattebo would be a very interesting name to see there, because obviously we know he can run. He runs angry. We know he's got pass catching ability. He fits what Dallas wants to do. He's somebody that can ground out the later portions of the game, but you don't have to take him off the field on obvious passing downs either. He would be Dak Prescott's best friend when CD Lamb is covered.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I heard, was that Dallas really wanted that hard-nosed running back versus the shifty, Bijan Robinson style running back. Obviously, both of them are going to be good, but they're looking for that every down back that's just, is going to pick up those 4 yards, and just with a head of steam. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But, like I said, I had to bring Cam Skattebo up.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm not going to vet my own statistics here, but I believe this is something that I've picked up just through the week. So Ashton Genty, I do believe, led the country in forced missed tackles. And so you talk about a Bijan Robinson and such like that. A lot of people talk about Genty having a poor performance against Penn State in the playoffs. He actually did a lot better than what people realize. But do you know who had the second most forced missed tackles in college football this year? You probably can. It's Cam Skattebo.
Yeah.
And so he is making people miss more than you would think, but he also breaks tackles in the more traditional way. He is not afraid to say, oh, you're a corner, you're a safety, I'm going to run you over. You're a linebacker, I'm going to stiff arm you into the ground. He's got a lot of tools that I think can make him successful. But other than our weekly Cam Skattebo hype session, that was all I really had this week. Did y'all have anything else?
I think Tennessee in baseball got to 20-0. Lost a game at that mark, so very impressive to start out a baseball season 20-0. I think you only go. Oh, don't crucify me, comments. I think you only go about 35 games, and so to get through this far, that's pretty impressive, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Not the only streak we saw end. Last week we did talk about the Cavs and their 16-game win streak. We hyped them up and then they immediately lost, as we predicted they probably would. So maybe a little bit of a White Widow curse. You could say they got bitten by the podcast. I don't know.
Hey,
We'll see what happens moving forward.
we are poisonous, huh?
That's right. Rest in peace to my women's bracket. It'll fall apart here soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure enough.
I do want to bring up a little bit of success as far as our channel goes. We hit over 5,000 views. Thanks for all of that. We are up to 44 subscribers, just 6 subscribers away from the chess boxing match. So come on, guys, we got to make that happen. Just need 6 more. So if your friends, your family have not subscribed, tell them to, hey, go hit these guys up and show them some love with a subscribe. So, but great success on our channel. I feel, we've only been in existence for 3 months, and I feel like we've come a long way, as far as quality of video, not just moving to an HD platform, but just in general, what we talk about, how we talk about it, stuff like that. And I feel like that is due to our fans, or the comments saying, hey, if you did this, it'd be a little bit better. Obviously, we want more of that. If you don't like something, tell us. If you do like something, tell us. We can take it either way. So big thank you to the fans out there who are tuning in each and every week, and to our special videos that we are putting out.
Yeah, I kind of view it as a help us, help you kind of platform. I mean, the way that I look at it, there's a lot of content that I take in a week, whether it be fantasy football, regular football. I watch a lot of different stuff on YouTube, and I look at content creators as service providers. They are providing me with entertainment. So any kind of feedback that I can give them on what I want to see or listen to, I am helping them help me get through my work week, because my job would be a lot more boring and hard to get through the days if I couldn't put an earphone in and listen to a podcast or two. So anything y'all can do to help us, it's to help you as well. So we appreciate any and all feedback. Guys, great episode. Thank y'all for joining me again. I enjoyed it, and we will continue to follow March Madness as these brackets are going on and breaking down right before our very eyes. We're all pulling for Tyler in a way, except for Chris. He doesn't want to see Texas A&M achieve success, but we'll get there.